Humanitarian aid serves as a lifeline to over 100 million displaced people in crisis around the world. Unfortunately, distributing aid to displaced people at scale can be a challenge due to high costs, damaged infrastructure, fraud, and a lack of transparency to ensure aid goes to those who need it. Now, with Stellar Aid Assist, relief organizations can use a first-of-its-kind blockchain solution to deliver aid instantly, transparently, and globally. Stellar Aid Assist leverages the power of Stellar, a proven, decentralized, and open blockchain network to get money into the hands of those who need it quickly and at a low cost. It's fast to deploy and can scale easily to meet a moment of crisis. Here's how it works. Your relief organization can use Stellar Aid Assist's innovative bulk disbursement tool to deliver aid directly to your own pre-approved lists of recipients in the form of digital currencies, like Circle's USD coin, USDC, a fully reserved dollar digital currency. Recipients can then access their aid directly from their phones using participating digital wallet applications without needing a bank account. Finally, they can choose to hold their digital assets as a safeguard against local currency devaluation, or exchange them for physical cash at one of MoneyGram's hundreds of thousands of participating locations around the world. With Stellar Aid Assist, relief organizations can feel confident their aid will be delivered transparently over the blockchain, instantly at scale, and at a low cost. This means your aid recipients can access their relief funds digitally regardless of where they are, in stable currencies like digital US dollars, all without a bank card or account required. Stellar Aid Assist makes aid accessible for all and enables equitable access to aid. Learn how Stellar can empower your organization or the organization you donate to deliver the future of aid today. Visit stellar.org/aidassist.
Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us this evening. It's incredible to see so many people here. This is such an exciting topic with two of my favorite women. I'd just like to point out that there's 3 women up here. Yay. So yay for us. I'm Teana Baker-Taylor, and I lead policy for Circle in Europe. It is an absolute pleasure. I've been looking forward to this for weeks. I'm joined by Denelle Dixon, CEO of Stellar Development Foundation, and Carmen Hett of the UNHCR. I cannot do them justice, so I will let each of them introduce themselves to you before we get started. So Denelle, kick us off.
Sure. Well, I'm the CEO and Executive Director of the Stellar Development Foundation. The mission of the foundation is to create equitable access to the global financial system. So what we do, we believe that using Stellar and helping to grow the ecosystem around Stellar, which is a global open public blockchain that is perfectly suited and best suited for asset issuance and payments. So this particular model we're talking about tonight is perfect for what we think Stellar is really good for. And so we work with the ecosystem to build and to grow, to make sure that we fill in all the gaps so that it can be a perfectly orchestrated sort of music, perfectly orchestrated song that can work together to do things like we're going to talk about tonight with individuals like Carmen.
Thank you. So I'm UNHCR's treasurer, so welcome everyone. Of course, there goes a lot more to it, programming cash assistance. So UNHCR has been some time in that business. So just to give you a little bit of an idea, in the last 6 years, we have implemented in the order of 5 billion to 35 million people. Now, currently, we have obviously a lot more people to take care of. So we have 103 million people on the move, so they need assistance. And overall in the world, we have something like 330 plus million people requiring aid assistance. So we need to have solutions that are standardized, streamlined, and obviously that are transparent, accountable, and obviously we can also deliver with speed. So when we launched this particular solution, we could basically see that within minutes people had access on the wallet and could basically transact and withdraw their money. So that's quite, I think it's quite impressive to be able to deliver aid within minutes. But obviously a lot of programmatic design goes into that. So we have registration, we have determining eligibility on the people that we care for, and there are calculations going into it, how much everyone really gets, and so forth. So there are many more processes associated upstream before we come to the blockchain for disbursements, and then having as well off-ramps that are integrated into the local banking systems as well. So that's important to us because people need to get their money. So it's not a hypothetical solution that we are looking at. So it needs to be real, it needs to be instant and available to transact in money and also transact in the market. So a market needs to be also there so consumption can happen.
Thanks, Carmen. And that's an excellent primer for what we're going to dig into in a little bit more detail. So I think what I'd like to start with first is, through the lens of the last couple of months, there has been a lot of scrutiny kind of placed on the technology, on speculation. And I think what is most exciting for me is being able to talk to policymakers about the real utility value of not just USDC, but of this open source architecture. Denelle, tell us why Stellar is so focused on this particular use case, kind of what led your thinking there, and what's unique about Stellar that allows you to use this infrastructure in a way that is specifically designed to provide relief to those that need it.
Well, it is my favorite thing to talk about right now. There are so many great things that come into this. A lot of it is about all the different partnerships that not only the Stellar Development Foundation brings, but the folks themselves bring. So obviously, to make this whole thing happen, we need the Stellar network, but we also need a really strong fiat-backed currency that's stable. And that's where USDC comes in. And then we need MoneyGram on the edge that actually allows for the cash disbursement, or MoneyGram also, you can put it into your bank account as well in the local currency. And then we need a wallet, a digital wallet. And here we use the Vibrant wallet, but any wallet that's Stellar enabled can be leveraged by an aid organization to do it. So the last couple of months, there hasn't been a lot of scrutiny on the technology for real, because the technology is amazing and outstanding and full and proven to be valuable. But there has been a lot of scrutiny in the industry, which I'll just be honest and say, we have been working with the UNHCR since early last year to really launch this project. And the fact that it was coming out on that we were launching, I think it was the day of the SBF testimony. I think he actually got arrested the day of. It was really, really a huge bummer because we didn't want to detract from what an awesome case study and use case that this is. And because it isn't about the technology where all of this heat has been coming from. It's about really, as we know, fraud in the marketplace and not fraud and not anything specifically on the tech. So what we've done since the very inception of Stellar is really focus on these on and off ramps. We wanted to create the utility, and to create utility and to really prove out the promise of blockchain, which is that you can support the unbanked and underbanked all over the world. You need on and off ramps. You need cash ones. If you need a credit card or a bank account to get on the blockchain, well, then you're not helping the unbanked or the underbanked. And so for us, that was a really big piece of it. So we sort of put these puzzle pieces together by working with and getting USDC to be launched on Stellar, and then also really working with MoneyGram to be that global on and off ramp so it can be offered ubiquitously all over the world. And that was a really large piece of this coming together. There are plenty of other on and off ramps, but to be able to launch globally with one that people know, name recognition, was a really important piece of it. And then we had participants like Carmen at the UNHCR who really pushed us to be able to do better and to think about the fact that this isn't a 60% type of thing. You need to be 100% when you're dealing with folks that are in need. And so we really worked really hard to achieve the goals that she set out for the rail itself. This sort of all came together, though, because what blockchain is awesome for and what Stellar is really good for is asset issuance and payments, as I mentioned. And when you think about bulk disbursements, and this could be payroll, this could be aid, this could be lots of different things, that is what the blockchain can do so well, so quickly, and can and affordably, and can do it securely and transparently. And so all of those things came together to really make this rail work. So the inception of this was just, this is the perfect thing for aid, and why haven't we been thinking about this before? And we were able to create a really great partner in Carmen at the UNHCR who really pushed us and really got us to the place where we could launch.
So, Carmen, having heard that and understanding what your challenge is, and maybe you could talk us through some of the friction that you were trying to overcome or trying to achieve and yet mitigate potential risks. So, we spoke yesterday about the importance of being able to program the wallets, at least for now, so that they're receive only. Maybe you could talk us through kind of what those steps are that you took to get comfortable with the solution, how it differentiates from other traditional solutions to disperse aid, and maybe what next steps might be as you're looking forward to rolling the program out further.
Yeah. So of course we need to be able to follow the data. So data protection is obviously at the highest level. We need to follow the data and follow the money. And with my financial hat on, we also need to be able to trace really every transaction end to end and be able to report back to our donors. So that is really what we want to achieve. And of course, at the center is the beneficiary to make sure that they actually receive the money. In this case, we are working with a non-custodial wallet. So it might be counterintuitive that we have actually customized that wallet. So that wallet can only receive money from UNHCR, and it can only actually withdraw according to the design of the cash out solutions that we have selected. Going forward, we would have to think a little bit more in depth. It's obviously useful for someone who has a wallet also to be able to receive digital currency from their friends abroad and so forth, and be able to transact. But currently, I think within Ukraine and the portability on USDC, so we have to imagine if someone is in Ukraine today, but tomorrow in Poland, they can actually still cash out. So the flexibility cross-border is unheard of, because normally when you cross the border, then your solution would stop. But in this case here, all the neighboring countries actually, can still cash out. So I think that's a huge advantage. Of course, USDC provides stablecoin, provides that storage of US dollars. So as and when beneficiaries need to withdraw, they have a choice. So the objective here is really to provide them with as many choices that you possibly can. So going forward, we need to scale up this solution. I think that's the idea here. And obviously, we also need to give donor briefings as well. So I think our donors also need to understand that we can actually now deliver literally in minutes. So if any of you would want to give a donation today in 1 billion, if you come forward. So we'll
take it. We'll take it.
We take it, number one, but also number two is that we have a solution in place that actually lets us deploy that money right now to the beneficiaries that we have registered. So I think that is extremely powerful.
Carmen, put that in context for us. So, we think about refugees. I think it's all quite clear that something has happened and we have to pick up and move. But can you put that in context, maybe in the context of Ukraine, which is something that we're all concerned about today. So if you have to pack up and move your family, your children, you're leaving things behind. Those things could be access to the way that you already have your value stored, right? It could be you've got value in your home, you've got value in a bank account, you need to move to another country. So what are some of those challenges, and what does that process look like? And how is this, I guess, maybe we're talking about it's faster. Why is that important? How is it faster, and what changes does that mean for actual people?
Yeah. So any of you, just to get this a little bit more real, so imagine any of you being a Ukrainian internally displaced or refugee. So the key is that you have everything portable, because you don't know what's going to happen. So I think what's probably new, or that's an important part to it, which is ID needs to be portable as well. So it's not just payments on your phone, having them portable, but your ID, because now you have an ID in Ukraine, for example, and you probably have heard from the Ministry of Digital Information, Ukraine has registered 18 million people. So they have an ID, and therefore, we would have to want to access this ID as well, because this ID exists and people are on the move. So it's really to leverage and interoperability of those systems together with the local systems, our systems. So I think today the fragmentation is still that we are using many systems to get to that end result. So the more we can automate, the more we can standardize, streamline, the more that aid and that assistance can happen in country and outside the country. Keep in mind that we have 7 million, close to 7 million on the move inside the country and approximate 8 million outside the country. So there's a lot of people to look after.
And I think one of the things that's so important about this is that because it's working with the traditional financial infrastructure, like MoneyGram, one of the, if you think about like an old school in terms of financial infrastructure, it does allow that portability. And you can take money from your bank account, you could convert it into a digital asset and do that. But here you can receive the aid and then you could cross the border and you could cash out in the local currency across the border, because that's what MoneyGram would offer you. And that's really what's important. It puts the power in the hands of the individual at a time when they probably feel powerless.
Indeed. Yeah.
And that's the dignity that's offered is very, very different from any other situation that they might find themselves in. Or in this situation, there's a war happening. They can receive the aid in their basement, not having to go out, and then they can go out when they're safe and go collect the cash from MoneyGram.
So I think one of the other things that I find extraordinary, and I won't throw the numbers out because I want you to, but there is a general on average cost to send a cross-border remittance. And then there is a cost to send that with Stellar and MoneyGram. What is the cost, the average cost?
Yep.
Traditionally,
the average cost of remittances globally is somewhere between it could go as low as 4%, but it's up to like 6%, 6.5%.
And on Stellar?
So the way that this works right now, so the MoneyGram solution is available outside of aid. The MoneyGram solution is available to any wallet that's actually Stellar enabled. So you can cash on or you can cash off at MoneyGram. 20 countries for cash on and 188 countries for cash out. So this is just a solution that's available for wallets, which we've modified in certain ways for the UNHCR and other aid providers. But in terms of this right now, they've gotten it to be as low as 2%. Right now, it's actually free. It's a fee-free service, and it will be fee-free until the end of June, potentially a bit longer, because MoneyGram wanted to make sure that they're providing the service adequately in all the regions before they put the fees on top of it. And so the fees, though, we've talked to MoneyGram about it, and bringing those fees is low. So we're looking to do a 2% average globally, and we're going to still work towards that. That's going to be our goal. But that's a really important piece of this.
It's huge. It's a huge amount of money, especially when that aid is so important, or you're sending cross-border remittances back home, for example. Every single USDC counts. And I think from an aid perspective, going back to accountability to your donors, the less we can remove from the process, the cost of the process, the more money actually goes to where it's needed.
Of course.
Is that an important part of this solution for you?
Very much so, of course. So you have to imagine the UN collects 60 billion a year. UNHCR collects 6 billion a year. So every percentage really counts. Yeah. I would say that on the Stellar blockchain, it costs a fraction of a penny to actually transport the USDC. Also on the side of the account of Circle, it's also very efficient. So if you like, the majority of the cost is still at the cash out solution. So the off-ramps, the various off-ramps, the integrations, we can still improve, but it's already very good, of course. So and that element that we do need cash, that's important as well.
And I do think it's important, and this is one of the areas that, that the recipient receives the full amount. The recipient's not being charged the fees when it comes to the UNHCR. They work that out with the off-ramp themselves. So in that case, that's there. But even one of the important things is the fees are appropriate for the agents that have their feet on the ground. Remember, these are small bodegas. These could be banks, but they also could be small stores. They should be getting a fee. And so we want to make sure that they're receiving the fee. We just want the fee to be competitive. And so that's part of it. We want to make sure they get paid to be able to achieve the value that they're delivering into the process, but that it's not exorbitant. And so by using Stellar in the aid situation, but also just in traditional payment infrastructure and using this new rail that's been created, it actually allows for so many intermediaries to be removed that those fees are no longer there. So really the fee here is going to be at the agent, and it's also going to be there might be some with respect to the conversion rate between the USDC and the local currency. But other than that, the Stellar blockchain, you can send 100,000 transactions for less than a penny. So that's one of the beauties of using an open public blockchain like Stellar.
Unfortunately, MoneyGram couldn't be with us here today. But one of the things I find really quite inspiring about this solution and this partnership between the three of you is that MoneyGram is a traditional financial institution, right? And we talk a lot about, crypto is disrupting traditional finance, and there are some that wonder if banks will be displaced. I don't think so, but I think that there is opportunity for optionality to be provided with multiple modalities, right? Yes. And I think it's really fabulous that MoneyGram is almost kind of disrupting itself, right? To be a part of this ecosystem and this infrastructure. How do you see that continuing? Do you see these partnerships growing with other traditional financial infrastructure partners?
I do think the answer is yes. MoneyGram, I started at the Stellar Development Foundation in May of 2019, and one of my first meetings in the first couple of weeks I was there was with Alex at MoneyGram. So it did take a while to get this whole thing moving, 2.5 years to be exact. But the reason why is that, and I'll just be honest, there's a funny story to this. On our own website, we talked about disrupting entities like MoneyGram and named MoneyGram on the website. So when we met with MoneyGram, they said, well, that's an interesting thing that you have on your website. And I was like, oh, well, what we mean is we're going to work with and enhance. But really the conversation between us was a lot about the fact that they bring so much to the blockchain that blockchain can't do. That traditional infrastructure that they've built and those agents all over the world are absolutely necessary to be able to achieve the goals that we need. And so I think that as long as we're rational in that this is a new rail, this is a rail that's going to work in certain situations extremely well. And with respect to Carmen and delivering aid, this rail is going to work really well in some places and not so well in others. But the notion of having that flexibility to have both was how I really discussed this with Alex, and recognizing how much they're bringing to enhance blockchain was part of the discussion, and that they now have other customers out there that they can leverage that are unbanked and underbanked that maybe wouldn't have been continuous customers for them, but now they can be because they can leverage the service. It's been so fun since June when we launched with MoneyGram to see the places all around the world where people are leveraging cash out at MoneyGram locations. It's just been really fun to see in random places that you wouldn't think that this is actually being leveraged. And the more wallets that come onto the network, come onto the MoneyGram partnership, we're just going to see even more of that. So I do think there's going to be more traditional players. We're open to if anybody wants to come and be a part of it, because I do think that it really demonstrates that interoperability with traditional financial infrastructure.
Awesome. Well, that's a great segue into what's next. So, Carmen, from your perspective, UNHCR provides aid across the world for a number of people that find themselves in refugee situations. But there's also other UN agencies that provide disbursements for a variety of reasons. What can we do to grow this type of activity so that people that need money get it faster and cheaper?
Yeah, I think it's a huge opportunity, and I see some of the colleagues here tonight. So the thing is that we would establish like a UN financial gateway to some sorts, and obviously we would have the Stellar distribution platform. So we're in charge of ourselves in this way, gives us autonomy. Once we have the data captured, who gets what, we can actually send these instructions ourselves. So we work with the UN International Computing Center as well. So we have another UN agency that are basically hosting the tool. That means we can all work through that tool and instruct, obviously, the beneficiaries directly. So we can use, if you like, a common gateway, and we are all autonomous to obviously instruct. So I think it's to scale this solution. This solution has now proven that we can do work that way. So we need to see how we can scale and how we can onboard others. I also would want to say that the UN, it's not in the UN interests to actually establish a secondary financial system in the country. So we actually do work with the central banks and access the financial ecosystem in the country. So that's important to us. Obviously, there are some jurisdictions where we would want to work differently. So Venezuela could be one of those examples. So the key is we need some order to have true financial inclusion as well and economic inclusion. So we are not providing here a secondary alternative financial system to the system that is in the country or in the region. It might be sort of in the digital crypto world a little bit counterintuitive, because the idea, some would say, it gives you that freedom to deal on the wallet, and there's a question out there, do we still need central banks and things like that? But we do. I think currently we do. So we need to see that we are a responsible partner in the country with the governments that we work and the programs that we deliver. So whether it's aid or whether it's development and social assistance, also working with their social systems. Yeah, we should not forget that. So,
we want to see it go with all of them, but we want to be rational about how we do it. We're here to support. They're the ones who has the hard work. They have to identify, they have to get the aid, and then they have to be able. The great thing about working with the UNHCR is that having the UNICC have the technical support to be able to have the tools and own them internally and be able to leverage them. The tool itself will be open sourced in this year so that anyone can do the same thing. That's part of our work, is that we support these ecosystems by putting all the tools that we build out into the open for everyone.
Well, I don't know about the rest of this room, but I am genuinely, personally in awe of what both of you have done and achieved in a short space of time. And it makes me incredibly proud that USDC is part of this project. So please thank my esteemed guests, and they will be having drinks. So save all your questions, because I'm sure they would be delighted to answer them. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.